My name is Anjali Tijo, and it's my privilege and pleasure on behalf of RN Poda to welcome you all on our special episode. We have Aditi Yadav, who will be guiding us through the premise of today's discussion. Over to you, Aditi.
So today we'll be discussing as to how millennials should look towards gold as an investment opportunity in the years to come. Today, millennials are not very keen on investing in physical gold, but rather investing in paperless gold, such as gold funds and gold ETFs. Gold ETFs, that is exchange traded funds, are similar to buying physical gold. The only difference is that the value of the gold bought is instead stored in a paper format. To learn more about the same, we have with us our highly esteemed guest, Manisha Gupta ma'am. A warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Aditi.
To get to know a little about her work, she's an editor of commodities and currencies for CNBC TV 18. She is one of the credible faces on Indian media covering domestic and global commodities and currencies. Prior to joining Network 18, she was heading commodity research for leading brokerage firms. She's been following this space for more than a decade now. Manisha Gupta ma'am covers agriculture and related sectors. Apart from covering the live market, she also anchors the weekly show Commodity Champions. You can also catch her on the Hindi channel CNBC Awaaz and Gujarati channel CNBC Bazaar.
With that being said, let us have a great conversation with ma'am regarding gold investment and millennials' interest through various questions. So before we get into the depth of today's topic, ma'am, could you please brief us about gold ETFs?
Sure. So, as Anjali pointed out, you do understand about various other ETFs. There are equity ETFs, there are crude ETFs, and there are gold ETFs as well. So, what happens in equities is that every ETF that you buy in sense of equities, it is backed by shares. When you buy gold ETFs, it is backed by 999 purity gold as well. So, what happens is for every unit or every gram of gold that you buy from a mutual fund, which could be SBI or Kotak or Birla for that matter. These are the most liquid ones actually. So when you buy a gold ETF, it is backed by that much of a unit that these mutual funds buy and back it with. And yes, it is in a demat form. When you buy one unit, it means 1 gram of gold. The good thing is that when we buy gold, you have to worry about the storage, worry about the theft, insurance, etc. In this case, all of that is done away with. And yes, when it comes to millennials, when it comes to buying gold without physical worries about it, gold ETFs really seem to be surging right now.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that will give all our viewers a better understanding of what we will be discussing today. Let's move on to the questions. In the Indian culture, we look at gold as a symbol of wealth, and having gold jewelry is a common tradition. But most people don't consider the role of gold in investment, or they don't buy gold with an idea to resell it and earn profits. Can you please tell us how gold can be seen as an investment?
Sure. So, I don't 100% agree with that because, ask your mom, ask your grandparents. They bought gold. They also bought gold with the thing that one, it was a wealth creation. Two, for the longest time in India, we see gold as istri dhan. So when a girl gets married, the parents give you gold, not because it's jewelry and it's fashionable, but also because it has that intrinsic value. And then Indians are known to sell gold, uh, give gold as collateral when they need money. And that is more prevalent in rural India, where the only form of saving clearly has been gold and silver. And a farmer or his family usually do tend to sell gold and silver in need of money, in need of seeds when there is time to sow, or when there's a wedding happening in the family. So, yes, gold is resold in the Indian markets as a physical gold as well. So, as I said, I wouldn't 100% agree with that. But yes, when you talk about investment, it is purely for the point of buying and selling. You want to buy it low, you want to sell it high, and that's purely from the financial aspect of it. So, well, India is really evolving, especially what we've seen during the lockdown time in COVID, when Indians couldn't step out and buy gold. They've actually completely steered towards buying it on the paperless gold. ETFs and gold bonds in India have done record volumes in the year 2020.
Thank you, ma'am. That helped us understand how vital it can be to invest in gold. In this current scenario, when the world is in the recession mode, is it advisable to invest in gold and silver? Ma'am, your
It
views?
sure is. Yes, it sure is. I'll give you some 5, 6 fundamental reasons to do that. As you said, that world is in a recessionary mode. Why do you say that? You say that because the economic data has been on the weaker side. We've seen huge stimulus measures come in from various central banks. What we believe is that by end of this year, we would be looking at stimulus benefits of around $8 to $9 trillion. Now, this is yet another record into the markets. So whatever movement that you see in the international markets right now is on the back of these fiscal and monetary stimulus measures. Also globally, when you look at the interest rates, those are really low, and all of this is supportive of gold. Economic data has been on the weaker side. The COVID numbers are still surging. We have seen lockdowns and then unlock happen and then lockdowns go back again. So there is a lot of uncertainty out in the market. And one important thing is this is also the US presidential election year. So this is a year you can't go wrong. And especially with the recessionary fear, well, yes, gold definitely is a better hedge against inflation, in a hedge against uncertainty. There are geopolitical concerns as well. And when you look at various asset classes, when you rack them up, with 38% of gains in gold, no other asset classes is even close to this.
Thank you, ma'am. For your clarification, we understand better why gold is a better mean for investment. Ma'am, how big an impact does gold play for the economy?
Okay, this is an area which the government is not very fond of talking about. Let me tell you that gold, as of now, the import of gold attracts 12.5% of an import tax. So when you look at the gold prices on the screen, you have to add 12.5% of an import tax on that, and then a 3% GST as well. So yes, it doesn't really work well when you look at the gold prices there. Uh, I'll tell you, there was a time that gold got imported so much. I'm sure you know this, but every year India imports anywhere between 700 to 1100 tons of gold. That is the kind of consumption that India has. This year, until now, we've only imported 50 tons. One, the reason is gold is running, it's trading at an all-time highs. And two, there has been a lockdown. It's, barely people can travel from one country to another. Essential commodities are being shipped around. So gold clearly hasn't found any priority there. But with that much of a gold coming in, there was one time that the current account deficit of India reached so high that government had to take steps to ensure that people didn't consume or import or buy too much of gold. Is the reason the schemes like gold ETF, sovereign gold bond funds kind of schemes were launched, and they're doing quite well right now. So no, when you talk about GDP, when you talk about budgeting in India, gold doesn't find too much of favor there. But then again, the kind of scenario that we are in right now, where you have the dollar index trading at a 2-year lows, you have debasement of currencies being spoken about. We're talking about inflation. We're talking about money printing where there is no end in sight. Gold definitely does stand a tall chance right now.
On that, can you please also tell us how does gold impact the fiscal budget of our country?
So whatever gold that we consume, it is all imported. So in that sense, you have to pay forex for that. Yet another thing, as this is clearly a follow-up question on the earlier one, government doesn't want to pay for something which is not moving around. Again, a number that is quite prevalent is that Indian households hold 25,000 tons of gold. And then you have temple trusts, which hold even more gold. There is so much of gold in their vaults as well. And this gold is held on into our lockers. Now, the government doesn't want something that we are holding on, hoarding on. They want something that moves around in sense of money, that helps finances, that helps economy. So the government did come out with a gold monetization scheme wherein you could take your gold, give it to the government, and the government would pay you for that and pay you an interest on that as well. Now, this scheme did not work at all because the Indians do not want to give their gold away, even if it means earning interest on that. So, yes, there is a difficulty here. We do understand the government stand on this as well, but I'll tell you something. The PM Modi in this week itself made a statement saying that yes, gold is at an all-time high, and I do understand that gold has helped a lot of people right now, because the trend in last couple of months has been that people who wanted gold went out, sold this gold, and got some money back. So gold really seems to be behaving like a financial asset right now. When it comes to the economy, holding gold back home isn't such a great idea, but we really seem to be evolving right now.
It was very important for us to know the impact of fiscal budget on our country. Thank you, ma'am, for helping us understand that better. Considering that there are always changes in taste and age plays an important role, how do you think it plays a major impact on investment?
Oh, it absolutely does. So, I could ask you a counter question on that. So, if you had a lakh of rupees, what would you want to spend that on? Vacation, mobile phone, clothes, bags, branded stuff, or gold? Last year, when I spoke to people your age group, they said, oh, I'd rather have a Europe vacation. I'd rather buy an iPhone. Why would I spend in gold? My parents aren't buying that for me, so I don't want to buy gold. So yes, gold actually lost out to millennials because of that, because people nowadays want to live in, yes, it is a very important question. We make investments as per what is on right now, and we also saw some change. People did move on to other metals like platinum, like investing into share market, also buying diamonds for that matter, because you saw preferences change there as well. So the older generation still wants to hold on to FDs, which are not doing so great, by the way, but debt funds are doing excellent. We also saw property markets come back into favor in last 6 or 8 months, as you saw the property prices crashing. So the older generation really seems to be going back towards those kind of investments. The newer generation also is buying gold, but more in sense of ETFs and gold funds. I do speak to a lot of fund guys, and they do tell us that yes, starting right from doctors to students as well are having first time conversations with the mutual fund guys, and they are selling gold to them as well. The important point is that when you buy ETF, it is 1 unit. 1 unit is 1 gram. 1 gram of gold today is 5,000 rupees, because the prices have gained up so much. But if you were looking out to invest, you had that kind of money, there are those first initiations, first time conversations, first time conversions as well happening in new millennials, in new age group as well, who are wanting to buy gold.
Thank you, ma'am, for conveying your valuable thoughts. Ma'am, according to you, is gold investment a good investment for the next 5 to 10 years?
So, the gold structural bull run began in 2018 mid. Since then, the gold prices have been rising. If you look at this year, the beginning of this year, we started with gold at $1,500 per ounce. Right now, it's at 1980. In the Indian markets, we started this year with 39,000 rupees per 10 grams. So from 39,000 to 54,000 today is a huge jump up that we've seen in case of gold prices. So usually a structural bull run in gold lasts for 5 to 8 years. So the markets believe, from where we stand right now, we already are into a 2.5 year of a bull run already. So until another 2 to 3 years is quite clearly a given. In any case, gold is a long-term investment. And where we are standing right now, the expectation is that $2,000 per ounce, even $3,000 per ounce until next year is a possibility. So we are talking another $1,000 of a jump up from here. So yes, there is a lot of bullishness, and every dip, every correction is a good idea to buy in case of gold and silver both.
Thank you, ma'am. Your advice helped us wrap our heads around how the future might look in terms of gold investment. Ma'am, I would also like to know, according to you, gold, equity, or mutual funds, which is better to invest on?
So when you are making a portfolio, because there is no one thing better than the other, you should always have a balanced portfolio. And it also has to have a near-term goals and a longer-term goal. Like you just asked me whether you should be buying gold for the next 5 years or not. How is your portfolio looking like right now? Does it have equity? Does it have debt? Does it have commodity in sense of gold? You have to have all of these together in a portfolio. Usually, what we look at is a 60% equity, 20% debt, and 20% of gold. Now, that in a time like this would actually be a perfect portfolio. But depending on your near term goals, whether you want to take money out right now, are you holding it for a longer term, really does define that. And you have to keep changing it with that as well. You can't, like older generations, they would buy a share and sit on it for 20 years and that, yes, my daughter's perhaps going to get married out of this. That doesn't happen anymore because a lot of new companies are coming in, the older ones are getting out. We've seen some insolvencies come in as well. So you have to be quite aware of how your portfolio is moving. You might want to increase your holdings into one thing, bring it down into another. So that those changes have to be moved on at all times. But as I said, a perfect portfolio is 60% equity, 20% debt, and 20% gold.
I am sure that will help all our economics and business studies students. In gold investments, there are many alternatives like gold bonds, gold ETFs, physical gold, and gold in exchange. Ma'am, according to you, which one is safest?
So, I had somebody on the channel recently, and this is exactly a discussion that we were having. And this guy is from US, and he said because of the lockdown, we haven't been able to eat out so much. So my wife has been cooking for last three months nonstop, and I do intend buying her a gold jewelry. So so there are, and when you're getting married, you can't wear a gold ETF or a gold bond for that matter. So the physical buying will continue. 60% of gold that is sold in the world is sold in sense of jewelry. While of course we've seen that number come down in this year, that is because nobody ventured out. There were no weddings. Weddings were small. People didn't see too many gatherings happen. So that buying is actually at a record lows right now. For the first half of 2020, it is a record low jewelry buying that we've seen globally. But when gold ETF, we talk about that, the international gold ETF holdings are at a 7-year highs. The Indian gold ETFs are at a record highs right now. So nearly 3,500 crores worth of gold ETF has been bought in this year until now. And gold bonds, well, nearly 5,000 crores worth of gold bonds have been bought into the Indian markets. So yes, there is a lot of buying still happening. The investment buying is gaining. The jewelry buying has come down. But then again, that is expected to gain up as we move into the last quarter of this year. That is when you will see weddings come back. You will see Christmas buying. You will see New Year buying. You'll also see Diwali, Dhanteras. That is the time people start buying physical yet again. They want to gift it as well. So we will see that buying coming in. Coming back to your question, well, yes, physical buying of gold will not go away. And Asia is a major consumer. Between India and China, we consume 50% of global jewelry demand. So that is expected to come back. We are expecting a V-shaped recovery on that. If you have a near-term portfolio, you should go for gold ETF because the liquidity is high. You can go in, come out, you can buy as low as 1 gram, and there is no time limit here. So that is what really seems to be prevalent. But if you want to buy gold for a longer term, then you should go for a gold bond because the lock-in period here is for 8 years. And the max or the minimum that you can hold or you have to hold is 5 years. You cannot get out of a gold bond before 5 years. So for long-term investors, it has to be sovereign gold bond. For near-term investors, short-term investors, gold ETF. And yes, if you want to hold your gold, you want to wear it, then physical gold. Another important thing is when it comes to gold bonds, apart from what you buy in sense of gold, you also earn 2.5% of annual interest on that. So if the gold prices gain up by 100 rupees, you earn that, and then you also earn 2.5% on that. So this is a win-win situation. You have gold for a longer term, you have interest coming in on it, and and there is a lot of stability on that. The gold bonds in India were launched in 2015. So if you bought a gold bond at that time, you would be sitting on a 90% gains on that. So I don't think anything is given you that kind of return. So well, yes, people who bought gold bonds last year or even in 2015 are sitting on hefty gains.
With the multiple alternatives, it can surely be confusing as to which to opt for. This definitely helped us make the decision easier. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, what will happen to gold prices after everything goes back to normal?
Okay, this is an interesting one because nobody thinks we are going back to normal. There is going to be a new normal from here. The way the COVID has played out, even before COVID, we started this year with a slowdown. Uh, for various countries, is what the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, they already had put those forecasts out for a slower 2020. And with COVID, we've actually gone back by between 2 to 5 years, depending on what sector you're looking at. So we're not going back to normal very quickly here. The reason, as I said earlier, we are printing huge amount of money, and this will continue this year and perhaps the next as well. So this money printing is not going away in a hurry. And when it does start being tapered down, there are going to be, there's a term for this, taper tantrums. So when the central bank stops printing this money or eases down on this money, the kind of economic growth numbers that we are looking at because of this money being printed will also start to slow down. That is the time there would be some more jitteriness into the market, and gold will continue to do better. Also, the interest rates that are near zero in US, in Europe, in Japan, these are the major booming economies. We don't see these interest rates being hiked anytime soon because people cannot afford that. So right now, because there's a lot of money being printed, there is a slowdown, the joblessness is going up, no other asset class is giving you so much gains, there are geopolitical tensions, so the gold will continue to do well. Tomorrow, when you see all of the scenario changing, all of this jitteriness will come back and gold will continue to do better. So I don't think we are looking at the normal comeback too easily. And the next couple of years, even 3 years for that matter, gold will continue to do quite well.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your valuable insight on the same. Ma'am, is gold prices correlated to crude oil?
Yes, it sure is. Crude oil means fuel, and it also means transport. It also means freight, and it means aviation, so that is jet fuel. Everything that moves in the global markets, crude is a backbone of that. So as we were talking, because the diesel prices have gone up, right? And diesel prices going up means if there is wheat traveling from, let's say, Mumbai to Aurangabad, that means that diesel price cost has to be inculcated in that. So that would mean inflation going higher. Now, the real interest rates are not going to increase in the same pace. And that would mean higher inflation, lower interest rates, lower real interest rates would mean gold prices being bought yet again. So this is how it really works. Gold is directly correlated when you look at the dollar prices and the inflation. Lower the dollar, higher the gold prices. Higher the inflation, even higher the gold prices. Higher crude prices, higher inflation, and higher gold prices. So that really is the maths here.
Ma'am, on that, I would also like to ask you, how are gold prices related to international gold?
So, India has no gold mines to begin with. So we don't mine gold at all. We do, but in very small quantities. And as I told you, we import nearly 900 to 1,000 tons of gold every year. So that tells you that much of our gold is coming in from outside. So even as we are the second largest consumers of gold after China, since we do not produce any gold of our own, since we are importing it all, we are totally dependent on what's happening in the international markets. So whatever gold is trading in US dollar terms, we take that, we calculate it, or we multiply it to the Indian rupee. We add 12.5% of import tax to it. We add 3% of GST to that. And when you buy physical gold, you will also add making charges to it. And if you're buying it from a brand, let's say a Tanishq or a Tata, you will also add that brand premium to it. So that is how the gold prices run. If you look at the gold in the dollar terms, we've seen an all-time high this time around. But in the Indian markets, we saw an all-time high much earlier. That is because the rupee was depreciated. So if the international markets gold prices gained up by 20%, we were up by 26% because the rupee was down by 6%. So that came into calculations. But when you look at the gold prices, dollar really continues to rule because dollar has that king status. All countries have dollar as a forex reserve. So that is what impacts all of us. But let me tell you that in this year, gold has made an all-time high in 79 world currencies. That is the kind of concerns that there are. That is the way currency is moving. And yes, we will continue to follow the international gold prices because it is all dollar denominated. Even for the Indian Reserve Bank, we have dollar as the huge, as the largest forex reserve. Not just India. When you look at Europe, Japan, all these countries, central banks hold dollar as their major part of forex reserve. So it doesn't have a king status for nothing. So yes, we continue to follow international gold prices. The only calculation that comes into play is our taxes and our currency moves.
Thank you, ma'am. That helped us understand the relation prices and crude oil have to international gold prices. Right now, every country is looking into essential commodities of livelihood. Do you think that gold is an essential good in the current situation?
Not at all. Essential commodities clearly have a list, and that is your food items to begin with. And recently, we saw hand sanitizers and your face masks added into essential commodities. And there's a bit of a debate on that as well. But no, gold is not an essential commodity. But we have what we have seen is that at a time like now, where people are talking about currency debasement, there is not so much of reliance on fiat currencies, and even as the equity markets are running up, markets do believe that it is completely on the back of money that is being printed. If tomorrow you stop printing money, you will see the equity markets come back down because it's not running up on basis of fundamentals. So when you don't know what is happening around you, there is so much uncertainty. What would you go out and buy? It is gold, because gold is a universal currency. You want to sell it today, you want to sell it in India, you want to sell it in US, you want to sell it in Jakarta. Gold is something that the whole world understands. So that is a status that is not going away in sense of gold is the reason it is being bought. Is it a priority right now? No, it's not. But if you want to invest into something, you definitely will make gold as a part of your portfolio. I think that is what we have evolved into in this year.
Ma'am, as presently we are seeing the world is moving towards multiple trade wars. Will gold prices play an important role in this situation?
So, interestingly, what we've seen in last many years is that the global central banks have been major buyers of gold. In last 3 or 4 years, actually in 2018, 2019, global central banks were the major buyers. I mean, we saw best buying in decades when it comes to gold from these global central banks. Also, as there are trade wars going on, even as there are geopolitical tensions going on, we saw US and Iran as a concern in last year. We saw concerns coming in from Russia. Libya was another part. Iraq was another thing. So there are all of these simmering tensions everywhere. And as you said, apart from that, there are trade tensions that we've seen between US and China. Now, these are two global powers. When both of these make noises, the whole world sneezes. You catch the cold. Yes. So yes, gold does play an important part there. Every time you saw a news come in on an agency wire saying that US is going to retaliate or China is also going to close the US embassy in Shanghai, we did see gold prices gain up. There is that immediate move that you see come in on your terminals. Equities start going down, gold prices start going up. So yes, as I said, gold really is a hedge against a long list of uncertainties there. It could be geopolitical, it could be trade tensions, it could be more tariffs coming in on either country. It could be about North Sea because we've seen concerns come in there. Even when we did see China come and try to take a part of Siachen or Kashmir, we did see the gold prices gain up because India is the largest consumer of gold. So you hear a news which is not supportive of equities, is not supportive of economy, brings about some uncertainty, you will see gold prices go up.
Thank you, ma'am. That's something I wouldn't have been able to decode myself. With that, we have come to our last question for the session, which is what will be the technological trends that will serve industrial gold demands and then ultimately millennials?
Sure, a very interesting one, because when you talk about technology, we've seen the gold technology demand go down by 11% in this year. But that's a given because look at each sector, whether it's automobiles, it is infrastructure, it is you traveling. The aviation demand is because people are not flying, tourism is down, so everything really is not doing so well. So technology in that sense also has taken a bit of a hitting. But when you look at the gold supply, that has gone down by 15%. So even as technology demand is down by 11%, gold still fundamentally is on the positive side. Industrial demand, when it comes to gold is used in various areas, starting right from EVs. We see gold being used in solar panels, but more than gold, it is silver, because silver is 65% industrial metal and 45% precious metal. So when you look at industrial demand, you will have to look at silver more than gold. But with the point that this year we'll be looking at a deficit in both gold and silver, that is going to be yet another reason that you will see the prices supported.
Thank you, ma'am, for answering all our queries as patiently as you did. With that, we will move towards our vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Gupta, for joining us today and taking out time from your busy schedule. Your kind answers and remarks have surely impacted myself and my teammates. You definitely helped clear quite a few doubts I myself had while researching. Like you mentioned about the perfect portfolio that you should have right now, or the 12.5% import tax. Those were definitely some things that I was unaware of, and it brought a lot of perspective. Is there anything else that you would like to add on or give us some kind of advice from anything we haven't mentioned already or spoken about?
So, the questions were amazing, and you guys did actually cover everything. I just want to put out the silver point as well, because we didn't talk so much about that. But if you had to choose between gold and silver, because if you're looking at a portfolio here, for a near term, silver is a great bet, and for a longer term, gold is a great, amazing time to be in. Silver all-time high was at $48 per ounce. Right now, we're trading at $25 per ounce. So even as gold has made an all-time high, silver is far away from its all-time highs. But again, in the Indian markets, we are trading at 65,000 rupees per kg of silver. All-time highs at 75,000. So not too far away, really. So if you were looking at a near-term trade, a near-term quick money-making idea, silver is a better bet when you talk about precious metals rather than gold. Also, when you look at the kind of movement that we've seen in commodities, since you guys did talk about crude and gold, I want to touch upon crude a bit again, because that impacts your daily life. You may or may not buy gold or silver, but crude definitely is impacting you because you're driving around. Even if you're buying a food, it all is a part of, as I said, the diesel cost is included into every item that moves from one place to another. So, interestingly, and this is really interesting, have you ever heard about a negative pricing? I'm sure this year has been, a different one in all senses. So crude oil prices in the month of April went to minus $40 a barrel. Right now, we're talking at $40 per barrel. So that was an interesting time, because there is just so much crude oil. And then again, commodities this year have been quite positive, because while every sector was down in the dumps, people were not stepping out, not doing anything. People were buying food. So agriculture, in that sense, was the only sector which not only kept positive but saw recovery as well. So, well, yes, when you look at commodities, it has been an amazing year to be following commodities for a person like me.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we definitely covered most of the things now.
We did.
Lastly, I would also like to thank our teacher, Manisha Chawla ma'am, for guiding us throughout the process. And also my teammates for their hard work. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us with that. This is Anjali Jajor signing out. Stay tuned for the next episode of Converse with Commerce.